Hey everybody, welcome back to the Momentum Tribe Mojo Show. For some of you who probably like, oh my God, who is that new face on board? Well, you probably have seen her 2 weeks ago, right, Crystal?
Yep.
So let's welcome her back regardless. Welcome. Hello. If you don't already know, she's actually filling in for Miss Kenya Halliburton because Kenya is taking the summer off. You know how that is, right? You're a mom. You know how that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's right here, this woman. She's also a bionic superwoman, I call her. She's a mom of three. Anyways, welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Momentum Tribe Mojo Show, the show that's all about helping you. So that's my co-host. Just want to show that it's all about helping you build momentum, right? Constant momentum to help you to get from where you are now to where you want to be. You know this, right, Crystal? When we met, we never stopped our momentum. We got in touch, we connected, and then we're like, woman, we're here.
I know. 7 years later, here we are.
Yes, I was just going to say that 7 years later, people. And you know what? I've not met her in person. This is the power of live video, live stream. I'm having goosies, people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome to the show. And the second part of our focus of the show is helping you create action plans. Not only create, we hope to inspire you to take action on those action plans, because what is action plans? What is momentum without action plans, Crystal? Nothing. She knows this because I'm always like, girl, let's go, move, right? So folks, today in our show, we're going to talk about, in this episode, we're going to talk about, let me enlarge the screen. This is a topic. We're going to talk about best practices for using hashtags on social network. And I don't know about you, Crystal. Have you had that time when you use hashtags and you go like, is this the right hashtag I'm using? Or how many hashtags do I need to use?
Yeah, there's that. Or I would use it just because I didn't want to finish a sentence.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I love it, girl. I love that you said that. Oh, that is hilarious. That is so funny. But that's true, because sometimes we talk about this, right? There's so many social networks and not one is cookie cutter for the other, right? Mm-hmm. So therefore, folks, I know, I am not the expert in hashtags because I do use it, but I use it just from my experience, learning from some of the experts out there who have taught about using hashtags. Don't overuse it, or you got to really know, because hashtags are really like keywords, right? In a way. But we're going to let our guest today, Sharon Arena, who's in the house. So here's the thing with Sharon Arena. So I'm going to put this up anyways. With her, the same thing. I met her. Well, actually, I met her at a event that we both spoke at, and we never met. We didn't get a chance to sit down in each other's presentations because she was doing a presentation. I think it was the same time with me, and I was like, "Oh, bummer." You know what? The best way to get her is actually to what? To just have her on the show. Whoop whoop! And that's why we have her on the show today. So today, the topic is best practices for using hashtags on social networks. And I'm sure you use it on, whether it's your blog post or something. And also right now, one of the things that is big with hashtags, I don't know if you do this, Crystal, but I think it's a little bit more of a branding thing also, right? So people just look for your hashtag, and it's just a matter of you sharing it out. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to shut up right now. I'm going to just a little story about Sharon. So I'm going to put up her information here. So Sharon Arena, she's the owner and creative director of Salty Red Dog Marketing, LLC, right here in Connecticut. She helps provide consulting and social media services that business owners need in today's virtual world to help them get more exposure online. So let's bring her on. Whoop, whoop. I'm happy to have you. Hello, good morning. Right, we say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good evening, right? So if you're like Crystal, you're probably having breakfast with us, right? Yes. If you're probably, us here in the East Coast, US of A, right? You're probably getting ready to go for lunch. And I think if you're in Israel or somewhere, you're probably getting ready for dinner. So boom, Crystal knows this because she has been on one of my earlier shows when we were in Google Hangouts, right, Crystal?
Yes.
I used to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, breakfast, lunch, people of the future, people of the past. But anyways, Well, welcome, Sharon Arena. It's so
Thank
good
you.
to have you on the show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That was pretty funny what you said about we're both talking at the same time, because I really wanted to hear your conversation too, and so
Yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this. So thank you so
I'm
much.
glad we connected. And you know what, folks? This is the beauty of, just connecting and business networking with people. Crystal was a huge business networker. That's how we connected, Sharon. She reached out to me on LinkedIn, and then we're here today.
Yeah.
That's momentum, and that's
Yeah.
taking action, folks, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe in
And-
LinkedIn big time.
Yes, big time. See, this woman, she's all about social media. And then one of the things, Crystal, and for some of you folks who are watching here today, welcome. If you're on Facebook, be sure to share this out, invite your friends. And also, if you have any questions, just drop your questions in the Facebook comment, or you can come in here into our live broadcast room, momentumtribe.live. Come in here. If you're in the chat room here with us, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Share this out. We would have fun, because if you're right here in the broadcast room with us, we want you to take a poll, which we'll share a little bit later. You know what, Crystal, at the end of the day, after Sharon and I sat down at a coffee shop, we realized we actually share the same horoscope.
That's great.
Right? Like, Sharon, that was like the biggest discovery. No, I'm like, no wonder we're like alike, because like, the same.
I think we're both like, oh my goodness, yay.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, so let's get started, Sharon. I mean, today we're talking about best practices for using hashtags and social networks, right?
Yes.
And I'll have you talk a little bit more about what you do later towards the end of the show.
Sure.
But I think the most important question, I think I want to address this. This is the first question everybody talks about or asks, right? What is the main purpose of a hashtag, and what in the world is a hashtag?
Right. No, that's that's the biggest thing. A lot of people, you see them everywhere. The biggest thing is, if you look at major sporting events, or maybe you'll see on award ceremonies, you always see at the little bottom of the screen, you'll see a hashtag. You'll see, it'll say like hashtag Oscars, and you're like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with that, and what does it mean? So a hashtag is pretty much almost like, think of it almost like a brand, like a saying. So it's really the purpose of it is to just get that particular word out. It's really to categorize that particular subject. So if you think about it, if somebody hashtagged Oscars, and so with Twitter, for instance, if somebody wanted to say something about the beautiful dress, or maybe a movie, and they hashtag the Oscars. So what you can do is it categorizes all these comments and photos and everything into this particular hashtag. So to get even a little bit more deeper with it, it's a little pound sign. So a lot of us, we grew up with the pound sign on a little phone, so we know what it is. But if you have a particular word using a hashtag, this little pound symbol before any word, it just kind of categorizes this word.
People go this way, right? Pound.
Always. Yeah, it's like hashtag. Happy 4th of July. So it's very important to get the word out, get yourself out, get your brand out there. So of course there's a lot of rules that go along with hashtags too. You don't want to be overabundance of hashtags.
Yes.
Between a hashtag and a
hashtag. See, that's where I wanted to go next. That's this question. You mentioned this, a little bit earlier about branding, and I think it's important for many people to understand there is a way for you to brand with your hashtag. Could you kind of just talk a little bit about this? Because, like, for instance, Crystal is a mompreneur. Does she? What are some of the ideas about branding hashtags around your personal brand? One of the things I think many people are using, in fact, with me, here's an example. And I've kind of learned from some of the other experts out there, and they say, yeah, you can use other people's hashtag, and stuff like that. But if you've created your hashtag and you really pound on that hashtag, it becomes your personal brand. I'm having goosebumps. I'm having goosebumps. Hello, I'm having goosies. But here's this example. So maybe you can address this. I kind of branded one of my, so when I go out on the road, I call it On the Road with Zef. So y'all can find hashtag On the Road with Zef, and you'll see everything that I do out on the road on a live broadcast. maybe you can talk a little bit about that, like maybe a mompreneur, suggestion as to how we can create a personalized, customized hashtag that meets our personal brand, us.
Well, you think about it. So you go back to the basics and you think about the difference between, say, a logo and a brand. And a brand is actually who you are, what you are, and really the purpose of what you're trying to get out there in the world. So you're talking about your hashtag and going out onto the road, and that's exactly what it is. So using this hashtag and broadcasting it. So when somebody searches for that, you're categorizing all these amazing things that you've done just into one thing. And then also people are going to remember that too. It's as long as you keep pushing it out there, people are going to be constantly remembering that, oh yes, On the Road with Zef Zan. And then the Momtrepreneur, like that's a great one too. Something creative. Get creative with your hashtags. I always say, and then of course, different platforms, you're using many different, like Instagram. Did you know with Instagram, for example, you want to use at least 11 or more hashtags, and people are saying
11 or more?
Yeah.
I know. I look back. I say 11.
Really?
I know. And I know that sounds like a lot. It does, and it does, because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I got to come up with like 2 more. But
so we're talking a little bit more why in Instagram, because this is what I kind of struggle with, because when I go to Instagram, it's all about the hashtags, and I'm looking,
it really is.
Really? Do you really need that much? I mean, Chris, I'm sure, Krista, you probably have the same question, right? You go to Instagram, you're trying to enjoy the pictures and I'm like videos, and then suddenly you go down, no post, like what the picture is about or whatever, and it's just all hashtags. It kind of drives me insane because I'm like,
wondered that. Yeah, I'm like, what? I can't really come up with 3.
Maybe we can talk a bit about the psychology of that in a moment. But I'm gonna let kind of Crystal ask her questions, because I know she has some great questions for you today too.
I do, and I really wanted to know, starting out, or even in the process, not really starting out, how does a person determine which hashtag or hashtags, now that you say, to use for their businesses?
Yeah. Well, you want to think, of course, what's relevant to your business. So for instance, marketing. So I want to really do marketing. Also, I love using the hashtag entrepreneurs or lady boss, because I feel like it's very relevant to what I like to do and how I like to brand myself, especially on Instagram. So you want to really think about the message that you want to give out. Okay. So that's really how I would kind of choose what hashtags to really stick with and use consistently. But of course, but with other hashtags too, you want to really focus on the message that you're receiving. So I'm not going to use an entrepreneur hashtag with something maybe about social media, for instance.
So
go ahead, Crystal, because remind me to take some of these comments on Facebook. I know, because people are commenting on Facebook, and I'm laughing at some of the comments. So I'm going to let Crystal.
So you know how in business, when you kind of start with your business plan, you pick 3 main things that you want to be recognized as for. Would you include those hashtags in everything, or I mean, is it separate for every post that you have?
So for Instagram, I would always hashtag my business. So I always hashtag Salty Red Dog Marketing, because you want, again, it's categorizing everything that I have to say and the word and the message that I'm getting out. Plus it's getting out my brand and my business. So you really have to think about, so your momtrepreneur, absolutely hashtag that. Hashtag really what your message, what your meaning is, your things from your business plan. So if you do marketing, if you do Facebook Live videos, just really what is, you really want to use the hashtags that are really focused on your message that you're bringing out at that point in time.
Yeah. So it's almost as if the hashtag enhances your branding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Think of it as the SEO, the keywords.
The keywords.
For the, so think of it as the keywords for your social media.
I love that you were talking about the branding and the hashtags and making clear that they actually are intercorrelated with SEO keywords, right?
Absolutely.
So reading some of the comments, funny comments, I just want to do a shout out to Marianne Crochet, who is actually in here with us on Facebook. Carlos Phoenix was in the house. Hey, Carlos says he does a lot of hashtags on Instagram, and he just said he just launched another Instagram, and in 3 days have nearly 100 followers because of hashtags.
Oh, wow.
Boom. But he also says, well, they may be using hashtag bots to auto follow. That's a totally different topic for a different day, because that's all the technology part, right? But he's just laughing because I said, I love to say goosebumps and goosies, and he's just hashtagging those.
Hashtag goosies.
Hashtag goosebumps, hashtag goosies. And the other word Carlos will always say is like, I hashtag a lot of throw ups too, because in live streaming, you got to learn how to throw up and then you get better. Anyways, that being said, I think, you know, how does a person determine what hashtag to use for business? You're absolutely right. You both are on point. And Sharon, I agree so much. It all ties into the personal branding, right? Because it's your keyword is just like, if you see, like, I think hashtag is the text to a visual, like a logo.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
If you see a swoosh, you know that's Nike, right? I'm not, disclaimer right here, I'm not supporting Nike per se, but I'm just saying.
Hashtag
I know hashtag, right? You know what, Mountain Dew, they have, whatever. They all have that specific visual. So I think the hashtags are now become the text to those kind of visuals and the branding. And I love that.
Absolutely.
What are some of the hashtags that you use, Crystal?
Ooh, don't ask me that.
She was like, I haven't figured that out yet. Because there's so many to choose from, you know. What about you, Sharon? I went to Sharon here.
So one hashtag that I definitely suggest for anybody to use, and it really doesn't hurt, is hashtag love. And I know it kind of doesn't really, might not have anything to do with your message, but I'll tell you the reason why, because love is one of the most hashtag words out there. So if you think about it, first of all, your brand is your baby and you love it, but also your hashtag love is one of the most hashtags words out there. So it just gives your message that little more oomph. Another way.
Hashtag love. Hashtag love. Hashtag love. So I got to put it into visual. Hashtag love.
Yeah. So another thing that I suggest is if you get stuck on something, which I sometimes do because I post something and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of some different hashtag words. Instagram is great with trying to look up, if you go, how many, we all go into the search and we may want to go search something. And you know how you could see on the search how many posts have this particular word included. So that's a little trick sometimes that I use to see whether coffee is stronger than I love coffee. And you can really see the analytics of what is a stronger word, just like so this is pretty much SEO for Instagram, but so you can really see, so you can really see which words are the strongest being used. Now they change day to day, so keep that in mind. But even going to Google sometimes and looking up if you're kind of stuck on something, because I know 11 is a lot.
You say
it's a lot, but and then
it's like doing a copywriting, right? It's just like, oh, what else do you do?
I know. And then we'll also, I mean, I really want to touch on Facebook and hashtags too, because that's something that I see a lot. Is I see people will post something on Instagram and then they'll easily share it to Facebook, and then you'll kind of see this message on Facebook with all these hashtags. And I have to say, if you really want to perfect this, is take the extra step and don't do that. Just post organically on Facebook without the hashtag. So if you think about what Instagram and Facebook are really used for. So Instagram, it's more something visual. You want to see videos. So you're searching for something using these keywords. Facebook, not so much. It's more social, conversational. So you don't really want to use a lot of hashtags on Facebook, maybe one or two, just to kind of, again, get that brand out there, to get your word out there. They did a study in 2016. There was a study done with about 30 million major brands in the United States. And they found that companies that posted without hashtags, actually their posts performed better than posts with hashtags. So keep that in mind too. Wow. Yeah. So
Wow.
keep that in mind too, because again, with Facebook, you want to it's more about getting your message out.
Yes.
And you don't want to make it all sloppy looking with hashtags. I mean, I can't, I hate, that's my biggest pet peeve. And people will hashtag CT or for Connecticut. And I'm like, why? Nobody is really going to go search on there. I mean, it works. If you click on the hashtag for Facebook, it'll still categorize. But again, going back to the basic social media, you have to think of what these different platforms are used for.
Yes.
Twitter, absolutely. 1 or 2 hashtags for Twitter. Okay. And then you're going to use that differently. So if you want to say, so you want to actually incorporate your hashtags into the actual sentence itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing, so I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit because I'm also typing this down in our comments. So here's the thing, the beauty of this live stream, folks, if you're in the Crowdcast room with us and you can come back and take, even read our notes right here in Crowdcast, in each question, they're timestamped. You don't have 30 minutes later to come back and watch the show. Just watch that particular question, answer it. It's timestamped into a timeline. So go there. And I usually take notes and put them in there too. So I'm going to put this a little bit of a recap. So on IG, we're talking about 11 hashtags, right?
Yes.
And on Twitter, you said how many?
2.
About 1 to 2.
Incorporated in your sentence.
Yeah, because with Twitter, you only have 140 characters.
Correct.
That's true.
Correct.
So
And Facebook?
None.
Honestly, none, but it's not going to hurt you. If you do 1 or 2 with Facebook, personally, I would rather tag a business or brand instead of using a hashtag for that business or brand, because the business or brand is going to get notification of that you're tagging them. And then it's almost a shout out to them. And then chances are that they could shout you out back. And it's more about being that social engagement.
Yeah,
Again, it doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt using it on Facebook, but please don't go crazy with it, because you're really taking away the message.
And I think with the exception of the IG 11 hashtags, right? I think with the exception, try to not do more than 2. And this is what I've learned from the experts. And I know some of the streamers who actually use hashtag as a way to reel people into their, into their shows. They could hashtag live and then, or live video or live streaming. There's a way to bring people into the show. But on average, what I know, I've never done 11 hashtags or even 5 hashtags per se on Instagram. But on average, I use 2 just because I do feel from the psychological point of view. I mean, it's great from a marketing strategy point of view, but from the psychological, point of view of we're reading it, it's just like, why are you using hashtag? You should be talking to me, right? Engage with me, write something. That's how I kind of, perceive on Facebook or Twitter or, I mean, Twitter, you only have so much, right? So you have no choice. But on Instagram, when I see pictures and I'm like, it's all hashtags. Yeah. You're not talking to me. Like it's psychological.
Yeah.
So
you have to put something with that photo. You can't just throw up 11 hashtags and call it a day, because you're not getting across your point. So I know with my Instagram, I'll try to do at least a sentence or 2. And then what I'll do is I'll actually space, and then kind of put all my hashtags down at the bottom and give it some space. So at least it's not so in your face.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say hello to Anna, who's actually here with us on Facebook. And she says, FB perhaps a couple megs, Twitter 2 megs, Instagram 11 gets fatigue after a while. I agree, because it's like doing a copywriting, like a copy for a huge page project, but anyways, that's great to know. So folks, to kind of wrap in that section, you said love is the #1 hashtag that you kind of use just because, everybody uses that to get people into your posts. And then hashtags on IG is about 11, Twitter, Facebook, Twitter averages 2, because more than 2, you'd be like, oh, that's too much. You don't have space. But Facebook, none, but not. It will not hurt you if you put like no more than 2, which is actually a good indication. Yeah. Boom, people, boom. Did we get your head spinning right now just talking about hashtags? And I know, Crystal, you have another last question. And before we get to that,
I know my head is already spinning.
I'm already thinking. Did you say 11? Like you say 11? Oh my God! Like every post that you want. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you don't have to put any on Facebook.
But think about this, right? Think about this. I think from a strategy point of view, think about how you actually can say you have 11 hashtags, right? And that you can use and optimize or leverage on Instagram. So I think Sharon can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if I were to work with somebody, I'd say, okay, find 5 hashtags that you already use. Yeah. That's half the battle, right? So 5 hashtags that you already use. Like I would use Zef Zan Live. I would use On the Road with Zef. You know, definitely that's 3. Yep. And I have to work the other 7. So I think goes back to the question, the discussion of personal branding, right? What are some of the 5 keywords that you always use in your business and your personal brand that is relatable to the post? And then you mix the 5 plus 6, that becomes 11. Yeah. I still am about to throw up just thinking about the 11. And I know Carlos will pick me up on that because he goes, I throw up vomit on the show. Yeah, I do. But that's the point. I think many people, when it comes to strategy, it works. But when we come to actually taking the action, because we're all about the momentum and creating the action and take action. But when we take the action, when we sit down and really think about like 11 hashtags, oh my God, it gets overwhelming. And I think the tip or the hack there is pick 5 or 6 that you basically use all the time that would actually be your personal branding. Am I right, Sharon? Would you recommend that?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. It's okay to use. It's hashtag Goosies.
She's speaking out. She's quick, people.
It's totally fine to use. I mean, that's what I do because I'm trying to think of 11 different ones all the time. But yes, so think about what's the name of your company. That's one. Even your name, that if you're branding yourself, just think, what are you doing? Just, but it's totally okay to use the same 5 or 6 hashtags over and over again, especially because you're getting your message out. And by consistently doing the same thing over and over again, by using the same ones and the same keywords, you're going to pick up a lot more followers that way.
That's true. Because, prior to this, I found myself thinking, okay, my one hashtag would be Crystal Horton, of course. My next one would be wine. And I'm like, what else do I need to say?
Mompreneur. You actually have mompreneur, right?
I know. But I'm just like, then that's me because I'm.
Let's pick 5 for Crystal right now. So you use Crystal Horton, you can use mompreneur, you can use wine, and then you use Be Inspired. And that's your website. So people, you are actually going the exercise we're doing right now, right? So we're trying to get 5 for Crystal. Help us out here. And I know Anna's in the house, Carlos in the house.
That's funny. And Zef and Sharon, you're telling me don't overcomplicate it.
Oh my God. Don't. Ladies, if you go to the Facebook page right now, you will see Carlos just dropped like probably 11 hashtags.
Carlos has no problem.
That's
all right.
Thank you.
We have a few minutes left, and I just want to make sure Crystal gets to ask her last question before we go.
Oh, yeah. And I just want to say from Marianne's comment real quick. She says, sounds like consistency is key with hashtags. I believe it's key for branding. They go together.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Boom.
Absolutely. And that's the thing with really quick. That's the thing with social media is that it's a consistently thing. It's not, okay, on one day, off one day. You have to really just consistently do it. It's really, you have to really be dedicated to it. Yeah. So, and then, but once you're dedicated and get the momentum going, trust me, those hashtags will come a lot easier.
Yeah. We love momentum and you all know that, right? Boom, boom, boom. Never behind. Like boom, boom, boom. Just keep on moving, right? All right, Crystal.
So Sharon, should we pay attention to an influencer's hashtags?
Sure. One of my biggest influencers is Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if anybody knows who he is, but he's, the wine entrepreneur, plus also a fellow Jersey person. So, so he really talks a lot about hashtags, and he was really where I got a lot of my advice and a lot of these hashtag tips from, because he was really one that started, he was really one that did a lot of studies about the 11 or more hashtags. So absolutely follow influencers. If you have somebody that you really, that you follow, that you really like what they have to say, you can use their hashtags as well. Why not? Give them a shout out. It's really not going to hurt, but take the time to be a little bit creative and think it through, because you don't want to say the wrong message. So take some time, be a little bit creative, and think about your SEO for Instagram. What are really the words that you want to use to get your brand out?
Yeah.
I love that, you're reminding us back to the Instagram. So I think especially for folks who are really wanting to use Instagram for your business or the work that you do, this is a great tip, because before today, I really thought 2 was sufficient on Instagram. So now it's 11. Boom, people. And Anna in the house, she already dropped me a few of the regular hashtags that I use. So I can start really fast, because one of the things is, in one of the summits that I actually did, people created the hashtags for me. So I got at least half of that 11 hashtags. So I'm going to use that. Yay! And that being said, yay. All right, folks, if you're actually in the room with us on Crowdcast, or you come back later to be in the room with us on Crowdcast, you can actually take our online poll. We have questions in the poll right here. If you're here, we'd love to see, because we're asking 3 questions. Have you been using hashtags in your social posts? Do you feel hashtags? Do you feel, what did I write? Do you use hashtags correctly? I didn't even put in the right poll here. Do you use hashtag correctly? How many hashtags do you use on average? So we would love to hear that, because Sharon would love to see how many of you out there are using hashtag.
Yep.
And the conversation doesn't end here. The show's ending, but the conversation doesn't end here, people, because you can still post on Facebook your questions, and Sharon or Crystal or I can come back and still have a conversation. That's why we do it on Facebook Live. Yep. And if you're here in Crowdcast, also, if you want to ask questions post the show, you can still ask them, because all 3 of us will get notified that you're asking a question, and we can come back and answer those questions for you. That being said, I just want to say thank you to Sharon, who has been awesome and sharing all these great tips. And I'm like, now I really am a little bit hyperventilating just because I'm thinking 11, and I'm like, okay, I got to work on my other 5. But I just want to say, Sharon, maybe share a little bit about, any current projects that you're working on a global level or at a local level. I'm also putting up your information here, how, people can connect with you. Would you share that all with us right now?
Yeah. So pretty much what I love doing is I love helping entrepreneurs who kind of need that extra set of eyes and just to really think about their marketing and their branding. So I love social media. I love helping other people out, giving them some ideas. And I always just love to keep learning and educating yourself. Any little chance you get to meet influencers, meet other people, network with other people. I love it, love it, love it. So I'm always happy to answer any sort of questions, no matter if it's silly. If you need an idea for a hashtag, I'm your girl.
We should actually do a hashtag live show, right?
Yes.
Just sit down, go around the table. How many do you want? 5?
Oh,
let's
geez.
pick 5 for you right now. I just had an aha moment. This is what we're talking about. Take action, create action first, and then take action, because now we're helping you create your action plans. Yes. But then the next step is really to sit down and figure it all out. And we hope the show brings that content to all of you. So Sharon, I have your information here. What would be the best or the place that you want people to connect with you first?
Sure. So you have my email right there. So absolutely send me an email, say hi, say that, you like the show, and yell at me for 11 hashtags. I'll even be more than happy to give you some ideas for hashtags. Absolutely.
There you go. And also, she's a social media person. Be sure to connect with her on Facebook.
Absolutely. Yes. And every day I always post something on Instagram. And then also, follow me on Instagram at Salty Red Dog Marketing, because you'll actually see, I always like to post social media tips, small business marketing tips, and you can see some of the hashtags that I've used. So that might give you some ideas.
Oh, wow. This is awesome. I just want to do another shout out to, all of you out there who are watching this live, Honor, Carlos, Marianne, and a few other people. Be sure, if you're coming back to watch us on replay, if you can't sit down for the entire play, come back to momentumtribe.live to watch the replay, because then you can really go to the questions that you want to, you care most about, and you just play that, because they're all timestamped right here in our live cast broad room. Anyway, broad room. What am I talking about? Live cast room. I'm like, this is what happens when I have 11 hashtags on my mind.
I know.
Anyways, thank you so much, Sharon. It's been a pleasure to have you on our show today.
Thank you.
And you really got me thinking today. And I'm like, I'm sure Crystal will go back today and go like, okay, 11, I got to work on my half at least.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And we hope to see you in the next episode or somewhere on the social world.
Yes. Thank you, ladies.
Last words before you go. Last words before you go about hashtags.
Be creative. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Do what's in your heart. Do what's in your mind. Be creative and just have momentum with it.
Boom.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Yay. And then Marianne is saying thanks, ladies. Love. She's hashtagging love momentum business owners. Love it. And then Anna saying surround yourself with people going after their dreams / work. Usually exciting. Absolutely. There you go. Absolutely. Thank you, Sharon. We'll see you next time.
Yes,
bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye. All right, people, we're so excited. And this is our information. If you're brand new to the show, this is where you can find us. We're live Wednesdays, 11:30 a.m. New York time, 8:30 a.m. LA time, or 4:30 p.m. UK time at momentumtribe.live. And if you cannot watch us live, you can go to momentumtribe.com and get the replay. You know what, folks? The other thing that we're talking about to launch soon, very, very soon enough, is a free premium membership. And we extended this to August 31st. Just because, we know most of you are probably away on vacation and want to make sure that you get the opportunity to get on this premium membership. And this is the free one. If you register now by August 31st, you will come in at a premium membership, but also these are your benefits. You're probably wondering how would you benefit from joining the Momentum Tribe, and we're all about creating momentum and take action and to help you get results. You will see the 4 bullet points with, shown here on the screen. But one of the biggest thing about creating the momentum, folks, is number 4, which is build your own dream team that helps you achieve your dreams. Because prior to this, I didn't have a dream team. Prior to my shows, I was working like a silo alone. And, Crystal can probably attest to that. Mm-hmm. Right, girl?
Oh, yeah.
It's all about community. It's getting together. And folks, it's all about how can we inspire and motivate each other to grow. Yeah. Like Crystal and I, we talked about this a little bit before the show, and I just want to recap this because it's really funny. The other day, I was having a discussion with her on a call, and we were just like, you remember that day when you reached out to me on LinkedIn? Yes. And then we were talking about some ideas. Remember, Crystal? Yeah. And then she said, yeah, that was 7 years ago. And my eyes just went like, how many years?
Yeah.
Remember?
No way.
I mean, really, I'm counting like 7 years ago. Really, 7 years. And the fact, folks, we've not met in person. And this is so cool. And this is what the live streaming community offers, right? And being in a community that actually really are invested in helping you grow. Hey, one of the things that we're going to do with the premium membership is having people who are actually featured as, the movers and shakers in the community who would help us share their tips. Maybe they will have their own shows in the community and we all can grow together. Mm-hmm. That being said, girl.
Yeah.
What's up? Did you have a good 4th of July?
Yes, it was fantastic.
What did you do?
Well, my kiddos, they're age 10, 9, and 7. So they're at that perfect age where fireworks are still the bomb. And so
yes.
they're excited.
But it must have been like exhausting because now you'll have to take a day off from that, right?
I know.
Most people say that.
Day off.
She's a mom and she knows that for sure. Yeah. All right, everybody. We just want to say thank you. Next week, we're going to have a great episode because we actually have 2 veterans that will be coming on. One of them is a podcaster. So he'll be sharing some of his, experiences transitioning from, Army life to civilian life and how he's transitioning from taking all that he's learned from being in the military to creating his own business. This is going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. We're all about creating momentum.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll see you in 2 weeks or maybe somewhere in the Facebook world, right?
Yes. Until then.
Until then, have a great day, everybody. And be sure, remember, if you're on Instagram, you have 11 hashtags to work on. This has been an episode of Best Practices of Using Hashtags on Social Networks and the Momentum Tribe Mojo Show. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.